Hey there and welcome. My name is Carlos Barres and in this video we are talking about overpowered characters. And overpowered characters, when we try to define it, I think that it's important to know what I see as being an overpowered character because it can differ from my point of view to yours or from any other YouTuber or anything. So for me, the important thing is that min-maxing is not overpowered. You can have overpowered characters from min-maxing it, but they are not in itself the same thing. Overpowered character for me is when it has significantly more power, a greater power, and or a greater efficiency than its counterparts. So that said, I'm not particularly a fan of min-maxing, but I don't think that there is a problem with that. I had my fair share of it, but either way, you can do you and how you prefer. However, the thing is that when by min-maxing, you end up outshining the other characters or the other players, and this is when it is a problem. And for me, it usually happens in two ways. The first one is when even performing something, an action, it is not the focus of the character, they are better at it than the character that theoretically would have it as their core value. For instance, if you have a barbarian that is supposed to be the brute one, and they are better at diplomacy than the bard. And it's not something because of one role, because it can happen. No, it's something that is consistent. Their bonus for diplomacy is better, even though they are supposed not focusing on that. And then it outshines the bard in every social interaction, while still being dominant in the battlefield and as a hard hitter, etc. So they are better not just on their core thing, but they are better also in something that they didn't even focus on. Or an example is when you have the apparently frail wizard, and this frail wizard, apart from being the smartest in the party, it is also extremely resistant, with high hit points, and can easily lift objects without the use of spells. Basically, the character, they are a master of all. And this can be frustrating for some players. Because mainly they feel that they are useless. And what is that? Because if one character can overperform them on basically every aspect, or at least in what it would be their specialty, without being the specialty of this other character, what is the point then? What are they doing there? This is the first one, and the second one is what mostly happens in combat, but it can happen in some other specific situation. That is what I would call the deity among people. And they are so good, but so damn good at one thing that in order for them to have a challenge in it, it has to be basically impossible for any other character in the party. It means that if the other characters that are not optimized as such are facing a challenging but not impossible scenario or encounter, it will be a piece of cake for this deity among people. It's not a problem if per se, if they are comfortable with never being challenged, for example. But some players can also dislike the fact that they will have their characters always bashed, always almost demolished, and the other character will just pass basically unscathed. So apart from these two ways to have overpowered characters, I wouldn't classify it as an overpowered, as they are not overpowering the other characters in the party. Okay? So these problems theoretically and always will be mentioned that they are manageable by the GM or narrator. You can clearly think of a specific situation to try and level the battlefield of sorts. However, I would say that the focus should be on the player rather than on the GM. Because we frequently hear the question by different GMs on how to handle overpowered characters. But for me, the question is more why this person feels the need to have an overpowered character in the first place. Like, why they are doing it? Perhaps they like to min-max and so on. That's okay. But the player should ask themselves why they are feeling this need of having an overpowered character, and try to perhaps address it in another way. If you can see that by all my examples, you see the disparity in between the party. So it's more something about the balance and the reason that you have inside the party. Because if everyone has a very good, very powerful character, they, for me, they are not overpowered because there is not this imbalance. A lot of times it happens due to different expectations on the table, and it can be managed and talked beforehand. I mentioned about session zero. It would be a good place to do it, and if the game is already on, the second best time for do it is now. So there is reason behind the designs of a GM or narrator, and there are reasons behind the players. I talked about reasons for designing things before. So try to think about why you need this thing, why do you need this overpowered character, if you feel it as overpowered. And if you are the GM, this advice is given every time, but talk with your players. Talk like adults. Seems dumb that we need to remind it every time, but do it. Okay? Set expectations. Mention, communicate, say what you are feeling and how you are feeling. Okay? So that it does not go in an adversarial way, because otherwise it can look like your GM is being an adversarial. Okay? So see it, talk it, think about it. This was the video. If you like the video, like the damn video, share, subscribe. You know how internet works. Let me know in the comments how you handle with overpowered characters. If you like to min-max and do that thing, had it led to overpowered characters or not? Do you agree with my definition of them? No? Feel free to let me know, and we can have a good discussion and see another point of view. Okay? So, apart from that, that's it, and see ya!